Did you see this story? Founder of a breastfeeding support charity has quit in a row over trans women. This is Miriam Thompson, who's 94, by the way, resigned over its inclusion of transgender women. And I was trying to, you know, every now and again you read a story, go, I must read that again because I must have missed something in it. I mean, transgender woman, you know, with all the terminology. So a transgender woman used to be a man and kind of still is biologically a man. Other than the dress and stuff, and why would a transgender woman be seeking the services or need to in any way involve themselves in a breastfeeding charity? And this is just one of many stories where you get another example, your daily example of the world has gone upside down. Amy Gallagher is a commentator at the New Culture Forum who joins us. Afternoon to you, Amy.
How are you? Good afternoon.
Always battling with the terminology at this end, of course, and I think I've worked it out right. It's like solving the Rubik's Cube. Transgender woman is not a woman, so can't breastfeed. What possible reason would there need to be any inclusion of transgender women in a breastfeeding charity?
Yeah, this is, as you say, this is a very complicated story when you have to really look through the language to work out what is going on. So this poor lady, Miriam Thompson, who, as you said, she's 94-year-old, she's one of the founders of the world's oldest breastfeeding support charity, and she's resigned because of this, because of men entering into this breastfeeding support charity. Now, the reason is because some of these men who say that they're trans women, had taken synthetic hormones and medications so that they lactate from their chest, right? So it's all very bizarre.
Yeah.
What their bodies are producing is very, very different from breast milk that's produced by biological women. Okay, so the breast milk or the milks or whatever it is that these men are producing has no nutritional benefit for a baby, and yet they are saying that they have the right to breastfeed babies using this synthetic milk.
Would anybody want... So the baby would be born by someone else, I assume, and they would be... Because obviously they're not a woman, so they couldn't have a baby. So they... and then they would take on the breastfeeding role. Now, at a time like that, you'd think that the medical world would step in and go, whoa, hang on a second, we're really not sure about this. I mean, the safety aspect, just so you can have a bit of an experience with a false boob and some pretend milk.
Yeah, this is what I mean. It's all about, I mean, as this lady said, Miriam Thompson, she said she's resigning because this charity is now about the fantasies of adults and not about the mother-baby bond. And as you say, it's remarkable that the medical profession would even allow this, because it's not good for the baby, and it's not good for the mothering and the baby bond. You know, the mother is connected to the baby, to the mother's body. So it's disregarding kind of thousands of years of evolutionary biology. We know that mother's breast milk, it passes on antibodies, for example. It changes to reflect the nutritional needs of the baby and so on, but apparently this transgender ideology trumps all of that, and if a man feels like he needs to breastfeed in order to feel like he is a woman, then that's the most important thing. And if we don't allow him to do that, we're being, you know,
discriminatory and trans. I mean, this is just bananas. I mean, this is almost at another level of ridiculousness in an increasingly ridiculous debate.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, as you said, you've got to think about the reasons why would a man want to do this? There's okay, a person can dress how they want and identify how they want, and you know, even if they want certain pronouns, but to take it to this extent, you've got to think about what is going on in this person's head, that they disregard the needs of the baby, they disregard the impact they're having on all the women around them, and they want to make it all about them, and they want to take something that's exclusive to women, which is mothering and breastfeeding, and say, well, I as a man can do that just as good as you, which they can't. But it seems to be that they're trying to, you know, break down the fundamental differences in biology here. I mean,
but this is new level territory, isn't it?
It really is. It's kind of like some kind of Frankenstein horror show, that you would want to force a baby to be part of this kind of ideology in a way that they have to actually take on this kind of synthetic milk.
Yeah.
It's very disturbing, actually, very disturbing. Sometimes we can, you know, these trans stories come up and we can say, oh, they're a bit silly, but actually underneath it, there's stuff that's going on that's so sinister. And it's very, very worrying. And I feel so sorry for this woman that's had to resign, who spent her whole life supporting women.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Let's have a look at another example of just the topsy-turvy world we were in. The story of Jim Orwin, a 67-year-old council worker from who was working for Yorkshire Council, who was fired. He decided to use as his email signature XY chromosome guy / adult human male. Now, this went very much against the spirit of what the inclusive cool cats were trying to do over there at the council, which was asking staff to add pronouns to their emails if they wanted to. And he said, OK, well, I'll put this down. And they didn't much like that, so they suspended him and then dismissed him in August 2022. Went to a tribunal. They dismissed his claim for discrimination, but acknowledged his gender-critical beliefs are protected. I mean, fair play to Jim for just, you know, battling insanity. But it's been a bit costly to him because he's got to pay the legal costs now.
I know, this is so unfair. So he was asked what he wanted as his pronouns, and the options were he, him, she, her, they, them, or other. So he clicked on other, and it said you can put down whatever you want because according to gender ideology, your pronouns can be anything. You can identify as anything. Yeah. So he put down adult human male, kind of in a way to protest against gender ideology and say, look, I believe in biology. But he was invited to put down anything he wanted, which is what he did. And because of that, you know, his whole institution turned on him. So it kind of functioned like a trap in a way. And then he lost his job as a counsellor. And the judge, in this case, the judge ruled that he wasn't entitled to a legal payout, and he lost his case because he conceded that he wrote adult human male to be slightly provocative. Mm. Because he was being provocative, therefore, you know, it was his own fault. You see, I would argue that gender ideology is very provocative. You know, encouraging people to come up with any, you know, pushing this onto people.
Anything you like, yes.
Sending out emails saying, are you a they, them, or are you a ze, zer? You know, to me, that's provoking people that don't believe in this ideology.
Correct.
But this seems to only go one way, and that's the problem with this. And it's so, you know, this poor guy, 67, you know, is now having to use his retirement fund to pay for all these legal fees. And good on him for trying to fight it. But I mean, it just shows you what we're up against. Really, it's very worrying.
And just a final one, while you're with us, we might as well, you know, check in on this story, Amy. Parents' fury after school tries to ban Christmas references from its festive pantomime so it can be inclusive to kids of all faiths. Now, this is rather troubling as well. The head teacher at the primary school removed all Christmas references. Parents criticised the decision to make it an inclusive event for kids of all faiths, particularly by excluding Christmas. The school said, yeah, but we don't celebrate, some families don't celebrate Christmas, and had children removed from festive events. And they also said that a pantomime wasn't really a kind of Christmas event, which it clearly is.
This is so confusing. They want the pantomime to not refer to Christmas, even though everybody associates pantomimes with Christmas, and there's something that's done at Christmas time. So I don't know what's going on here, and it seems very... I mean, it was even Christmas songs that had to be removed, and you've got to think about why. Where is this coming from? Who's saying that they're offended by, the mention of Christmas or Christmas songs? I mean, is there a strong demand for this? Where is it coming from and why? Yeah. And, you know, in comparison to the sort of stories we've just talked about, this is an act of exclusion. It's saying your culture, your faith, or the festival that you celebrate, we are excluding that. You know, there's something wrong with it. And there's absolutely not. There's nothing offensive about a festive, you know, period of time that a lot of people celebrate. I mean, lots of atheists celebrate Christmas. We don't have many Christians in this country. It's something that lots of people of all faiths celebrate, you know.
Indeed. And I mean, they said that some kids had been removed from festive events by their parents, one would assume, but that's quite rare in most schools. Yeah. Where you've got a bit of a mix. I mean, most kids just join in with all the different whatever the celebration is, you know, whether it's Eid or something else, you know, they won't, the mum or dad doesn't take the kid out of school because, they're looking at Eid today, so we must not let our child, who's a Christian, go anywhere near that. In fact, you sort of encourage it a bit and go, that's quite a nice thing, you know, to find out a bit more about another. Nothing wrong with that, it's a democracy. So I don't know, you know, it's usually when we get one of those stories, isn't it, of they've taken the Christmas lights down in a town. It's never really some kind of angry Muslim bloke. It's usually some pasty white Christian who's decided that they're, or a white liberal, I should say, who's decided that this is going to be offensive to somebody. But everyone else is going, it's not offensive to us, but there we are.
Yeah, and it shows you how quickly these institutions kind of buckle under the first complaint. You know, really, they should have just stood up to these parents and said, you know, it'd be good for your child to attend, and it's a shame that you wouldn't want them to. And that should have been the end of it, really.
100%. Amy, as ever, thank you. We'll speak again soon. Amy Gallagher, commentator at the New Culture Forum, with us here on the programme.